I'm known around these here parts as the crochet, the crochet machine, pumping out projects like no one's business. I have slowed down, but that was necessary. But when I was cranking out like a bajillion projects per video, I watched a lot of these videos and they all had like, I don't know, like 10 tips. Some of them said a lot of the same things. So I'm trying out all of those things, or have tried out all of those things. I'm gonna tell you whether it's good or not, and I have my other own things that I also added. So my video's better is what I'm saying than every other video out there that exists. Let's get started, shall we? So I'm gonna get the most obvious thing out of the way, okay? Everyone say it with me. Practice. Practice makes perfect, and anything less is unacceptable. I need to calm down. I don't know why I'm so hyped today. Obviously, you're gonna get better the more you do something. Obviously, you're gonna suck when you first start. It's so annoying when people, well, I wanna call people out here, but like, you're gonna suck at the beginning. You're gonna suck at everything. Well, there's some things that you can just be naturally good at, but for the most part, you're just gonna have to suck. That's how things work. The more you fail, the more you learn, the more perfection. The next thing, which I'm always super annoyed about, and I feel like a lot of people in the comments are really annoyed about, whenever people suggest like changing your grip. So I use the knife grip and then they're like, oh, pencil grip is faster. And then it's like, yeah, let me just relearn crochet from the absolute beginning. And like, I was like, yeah, you know what? This looks more elegant. I want to do it like this. But it is literally like, it's just so awkward. Like, it would take you so many hours of practice to get to the same level as where you were before with your the grip that you're used to using. And then if you, free advertisements playing in the background. Thank you. This is distracting, but if you ever get bored, I'm getting bored. I don't know what I was saying. Oh, and then by the time that you get as good with your original grip, then you'd be like, oh, I guess I'm not any faster with this. What is the point in that? How can you even test that? How do you even know? And a lot of people are saying neither is faster, so don't worry. And then I tried to change the way I tension, because I tension weirdly, okay? I know I tension weirdly, and I didn't know I tensioned weirdly until like a year into crocheting, because I never watched anyone else crochet. And then whenever I finally like watched myself crochet after seeing other people crochet, I was like, I crochet so freaking weird. It looks so freaking weird. And I've tried doing different tension because I think it would make sense if it was closer than mine being pretty far away. It would probably allow for less movement, which means less time, but I could not. I tried, and every time I stopped thinking, I would just automatically like wrap around my middle finger instead of my index finger. I gave up. That one did not help. It's the same as the grip one. I think that would take hours and hours and hours of practice to get to where I would be able to know if it's faster or not. So is it worth it? I don't know. I'm just gonna stick with the way I crochet for now and see. The next tip is the tip that I actually think made the most help in terms of like actually like crocheting faster, is slow down. Like, go super slow. I know, hear me out. Hear me out. Go super slow, watch every move that you're doing, and see if you're doing any extra steps that you don't need to do. Because I would stop in the middle and like adjust something. I don't really even know what I did, but I like did this and then I cut out that move, and then I'm just like bloop, bloop, and it's so much faster, I think. And when you're doing something new that you're not used to, that it's not automatic, there's no point in like trying to go fast, because I would lose the working yarn a lot whenever I did it originally. So I just tried to go slow at first and then like work up my speed, and then still sometimes, or a lot of the times, I have to like consciously remember to like skip this step, and I'm like, oh right. Next tip, don't try to go too fast. If you try to go too fast, you make mistakes. Only go to the speed that you can handle. And also, what is with all these advertisements? Oh, this is my favorite performance, but whatever. Focus. I shouldn't have done this. Plus it looks really bad with this like burn in my projector. Also, if you try to go too fast, it can hurt. Don't ruin your hands. Another thing that people said is to try different hooks. And if you find a hook that you love, then it'll make you faster. I don't believe that per se. I have this clover hook and it is now my go-to hook. Whenever I first got it, it was like smooth, like so smooth. Like I thought my other hooks are smooth because they are. I've never really thought much about the hooks that I'm buying when I started crochet. This is just like a big pack of ones from Amazon. The only issue I have with this is there is like a little ridge here, which I guess technically you could just like sand that off or whatever. And it does bug my hands a little bit, especially now with this like really nice grip. Oh, they do feel different now. But whatever coating is on this clover hook is super smooth. Like it just feels like it's non-existent when you're crocheting with it. And then I bought like multiple things. This is like an inline hook, which a lot of people don't like, I think, but I don't mind it. I don't know honestly if this made much of a difference. If it did, it was probably like a 1% difference. I think the bigger thing is making sure you're using the right size for the right yarn, because obviously if you're using a hook that's too small for the yarn, you're gonna be like splitting the yarn a lot, and that's annoying, and like go back and fix it. But like sometimes that can't be avoided because you want a really like closely woven fabric. So I don't know. Next is the type of yarn. I don't like when people talk about like, oh, type of yarn and stitches. The type of stitches is the next one, because obviously there's gonna be types of yarn that is easier to work with, so it's gonna be a lot faster, and there's gonna be types of stitches that are a lot faster and easier. They work up quicker, and plus you're really good at them. For some reason I really flow well with a double crochet. Anything that takes like two, like do I just like flow, you know, and then it takes up more space and then you have more done. But obviously you're choosing a type of yarn for a reason, and you're choosing a type of stitch for a reason. It's for the look of it, you know, so you can't really decide unless you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot it's my cousin's birthday tomorrow, and you like need it to be super fast. Then yeah, make a point of picking an easy yarn and a fast stitch. But other than that, you're not gonna I just don't know. Like if you want to use a stitch and a yarn, you're gonna use the yarn or the stitch. Swatch! Make swatches! I say this, but then whenever I swatch, it doesn't even like help me. It is good though. It's good to know what size of hook you want to use so you can see what the fabric's gonna end up looking like, and then also how many stitches you need. If you're doing a big project, this is really beneficial because then it doesn't end up super oversized or super small, and then you have to redo it after like 4 rows of a project that's like this long, and then you realize that it's too big. Swatching will save your life. Again, I don't know why my last swatch, I think it's just the last swatch that I made that didn't work out, and now I'm just paranoid and I'm like, what the freak. I will never swatch again, but I will. Ooh! When I accidentally miscount my chains and I come to the end of the first row and I'm like, I have an extra chain. I used to just rip it all out and then recount my chains again. But it's so much easier. You can just undo the knot at the end. And I'll even do this now if I have like 20 because I cannot be bothered to rip out my work anymore. I like undo 20 freaking chains until it reaches my project again. I like this tip. I've done this multiple times. Ooh, and if you get to the end and you don't have enough, you can actually crochet into that last chain, and then put your next stitch in there. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. I love that tip too. Pay attention and look at your work every few rows. If you're working for hours without looking at your work, especially if it's like tapestry or something and you haven't checked it, and then you realize that like 50 rows below you did something very much wrong and you very much have to rip out your entire day's work, that's a no for me. That's not. And then you have to make the decision. Do you want to keep the mistake or do you want to get rid of your entire day's work? So I'm like constantly checking my work now, especially if it's just something simple as like a split piece of yarn like the row before. It's really annoying to have to rip out the entire row and a half to get to it. So it's good to pay attention. Don't let your yarn get tangled. This is super difficult when you're doing color work, when you're doing tapestry, but it's possible. Okay, I've done it before somehow. Usually I just let it get tangled because I'm a live in the moment kind of person, I guess. And sometimes I just want to not think about things too much when I'm crocheting. And then I deal with the consequences later of a big tangled mess. strips. And I wouldn't go to the bother of doing all those like little balls and stuff. Like if that's what makes you happy, if that's what you like, do that. I like to have my skeins just like set up like pretty spaced out so that I know where the color's supposed to be coming from, and like then I can make sure that it doesn't get tangled. And then when you turn your work, make sure you're turning this way and then back this way, so you're not just like turning and twisting everything up. That was one thing I didn't think of and learned, and wow. Oh, I love this one too. Use stitch markers. I am a changed person, okay? I would never use stitch markers. The only case I use a stitch marker is when I do like a circle of like single crochets, I will use a bobby pin. But I was recently doing, I think it was Yeonjun sweater that I was doing, and I used the color changes to mark, like in my mind, I was increasing at the beginning. I am not looking at my camera. If they cannot see my eyes, it's confused. I was increasing at like the end of every stripe or something, so that was easy to like remember, you know? But then the other sleeve was just full on black. So instead of counting up and then forgetting and then counting from the bottom again over and over again, I decided to stitch mark, because every stripe was 12 rows. So then I would stitch mark at 12 rows where I do the increase, and then I only have to count down this far and then this far and then this far, and that saves so much extra time. It was the first time that I used a stitch marker for something like that, and it was just like, wow, why would I have done it a different way? A couple of things that'll save you time when weaving in ends, because weaving in ends sucks, is to plan out how you can, or like just like think about how you can best carry your yarn. If you can carry your yarn without it making your project look yucky, then do it. I don't know why, but like for the first year, because I wasn't weaving in my ends, so then I didn't notice. I wasn't like, wow, this is an option, or I should have been doing this because it takes a lot more time. And I didn't realize it until I was weaving in all the ends from a year's worth of projects, that you literally, if I'm doing stripes, like just carry up the color in the seam, like just carry, because that saves you a bajillion years weaving in ends, and I don't know why you wouldn't do that. And then I'm also, when I do tapestry, obviously you don't want to carry like dark colors through light colors too much if you can see it, but sometimes that's a vibe, so sometimes I let it be a vibe, you know, and just like carry all the colors through. It's really up to you. Another thing is sailor's knots. I think they're sailor's knots, the magic knots where you like tie the thing. Absolutely amazing. I used it for anything that's scrappy. I used it for my scrap video. I used it for a hat and something else. And then I used it for my Powerpuff Girls video. Not having to weave in ends is so freaking beautiful. I freaking love it. So you can use these if you're okay with it looking scrappy, having knots and like little ends sticking out. You don't have to have the ends. You can cut it like right next to the knot. Or if you're okay with having that like right on the seam, so you can like change color. So you're doing rainbows. So you have like a different color every stripe. Then you can like do the sailor's knot and make sure that it's hidden in that last stitch. I feel like it would you'd feel it a little bit, but it's up to you. They're supposed to be indestructible. So also knowing how everything is going together before you start is a good thing. And if you want to avoid sewing, definitely try to avoid sewing as much as possible, so you can do like a top-down sweater as opposed to what the other kinds of sweaters are called, a normal sweater, because then it's all sewn in the round, and then you're attaching, or not sewn, crocheted in the round, and then you're just attaching on and crocheting more and more, and everything's in the round, so you're not putting it together at the end. You have a few ends to weave in, obviously, especially if you change colors, but you're not putting it together because you are crocheting it all together. And if you're doing granny squares and all of the last row are the same color, and you're not wanting to like stitch it together with a single crochet, like different color border kind of thing, then you can literally crochet, as you're crocheting the last row, just attach onto the next one and go like around. I did it in one of my early videos. I did it in the one that I did the pants, so you'll find that there. It was amazing. Center pull. As soon as I found out center pulls was a thing, I started using it, but I didn't go to the point of, if I couldn't see the end or I couldn't grab the end like within like a few seconds, I would just give up and use the you know, the outer end or whatever. But no, now I will like dig in there and get it, because there is no freaking way I am sitting there going like this every few freaking stitches. No, never freaking again. And if I ever get a skein that does not have any kind of center pull, I'm gonna just rip to shreds and throw it in the garbage. It's not TXT anymore. Another thing, no, this is different, not technically related to your speed, but speed of how fast your projects can get done is taking care of yourself. So lately I've been trying to relax my muscles because I get tense for freaking no reason. It's just a habit of mine, I guess, to just from years of stress and anxiety. I don't know. It doesn't feel good, especially if you're sitting in one position for too long. It's like, oh, I don't know. And then I have back issues too, and my posture sucks. So I've just been really trying to just like chill. And the more I can chill and not be in pain, like my shoulders and neck and back hurt doing not just crochet, most things, doing most things, because again, I just tense up for no reason. But the less I can be in pain, the longer I can sit, the less I dread crocheting. So a win-win-win situation. Take breaks is another thing. If you're like me and you get stiff and you get sore, like, well, I guess everyone does, just get up and literally, even if you're like, oh, I have to have this done by tomorrow, like I have to keep crocheting, I have to, get up, flop around a little bit, you know, like move. 5 minutes isn't gonna make much of a difference. Actually, it's gonna make you faster. When I was trying to finish all my Christmas gifts, I like stayed up all freaking night, 2 nights in a row. Not all night, I slept a little bit, but I feel like the last night that I was staying up, and I was not conscious enough to actually make the decision, like I did not have the cognitive ability at that point to be like, hey, you'd probably be faster if you actually rested and then just got up. Like, I'm pretty sure I would have done I would have got the same amount of work done had I have gone to sleep and like taken breaks and rested properly, because at the end up, I'm pretty sure I was going like this. Where usually my speed is like. So honestly, yeah, I think it would have evened out. This is a really important one. Make things you're actually motivated to make and things that you're actually willing to make. There are so many times where I have chosen to make things just because I was like, oh, that'd be cool to make. But just because it'd be cool to make doesn't mean it's gonna be easy or that I'm gonna want to do it. So unless it's something that I really want to make, I'm not gonna make something that's like super difficult. Because if I don't really want it, I'm gonna feel crappy doing it. It's gonna be horrendous, because things like I'm thinking of like Twice's like heart thing and Chaewon's wearing it now, where like I really enjoyed making that even though it was so much freaking work. But then I went to make another one. I was gonna make another one in the shape of a butterfly, but I did not want to make it, and that would have been the stupidest idea ever if I had made myself make it, because I started making myself make it and I just didn't. The entire time I was going just did not want at all. So obviously the more motivated you are to make it, the more time you spend on it. Ooh, this is something that might only apply to me. So I have sweaty hands. In the summer, if I get hot or like, I don't know, my hands are usually, you know, at least a little bit clammy at all times. But if my hands get sweaty, I have to go wash my hands. And like if I'm hot, that's gonna happen a lot of times. And then I seen this person suggested using baby powder for sweaty hands, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. So then I tried it and it didn't work. So if my hands are already sweaty and I put this on, it like creates just like a coating, like I don't know, and then it's just as hard or even harder to crochet. Yarn drags against my fingers like crazy, so I'm like, no, that does not work. And then if I put it on before my hands start sweating, it's like there's no point to this because my hands are sweating. Yeah. So I was like, no. But what I did was I bought this. I thought it was gonna be like 5 times bigger, but it's oh, that's upside down. This. It's an antiperspirant for your hands and feet, I think. I don't know, it's in French. Pour contrôler la transpiration excessive. That's me. Excessive sweats. So it's just this little bottle. Extra strength aluminum chloride. I'm just putting aluminum straight on. Apparently the studies say it doesn't cause cancer. I don't know. I'll be the judge of that. No. So if you stay till the end of the video, you'll see what the results of this is, because I can't do this all night. You're supposed to like dab it on before you go to sleep and then in the morning wash it off, and then it's supposed to work for, I don't know. But this bottle is literally tiny and it's not even fully filled. Oh, you can use this for your underarms too, imagine. I don't really want to do this. I want to try it once just to try it. Oh, because it says once a day, only at bedtime. Once excessive sweating is reduced, the frequency of application can be reduced to once or twice a week. One of the people in the review said that they woke up the next day and their hands were like severely chapped. I'm not working right now. Technically, I don't have to do anything tomorrow. And if my hands end up like horrible, I could just be like, oh, well, guess I just have to lay in bed and watch Boys Planet all day, because I've been watching Boys Planet, but we'll see how this works. Tomorrow, I will update you. Next is a change in perspective, which I have had recently, actually, after actually making this list, so that's weird that I put that on there when I didn't have a good perspective. Usually I'm like, I gotta get this done super fast, and it's gonna be done by tonight or tomorrow, or if I don't get this done, or like, why am I taking so long to get this done, and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, that's just because I'm making videos. If I wasn't making videos, to be honest, I would probably never finish any of my projects. They would all be, because I don't like putting them together. I would have a bajillion sleeves and like everything just like laying around the place. But I have been more just trying to enjoy the process. I don't know if that's a lie or not. I have slowed down, so that's something. I've slowed down a lot. And I'm not so much as enjoying the process yet. I guess that's the next step, but this first step has been just chilling. And I'm enjoying my chilling time, so there's that. If you really want to go fast, you can like sit there and focus on your work, no distractions, and just like... And honestly, that's what I did for my crocheting an entire outfit in one day. But I think I was so overly stimulated, because I'm overly stimulated all the time. I'm always watching something, always listening to something. I'm never sitting with my thoughts. And that was the first time I've sat with my thoughts in forever. So I just let myself do that. And I don't think I watched, at least for the first half of the day, I don't know if I started watching stuff. Probably. I would have been bored at some point. But actually sitting and paying attention to what you're doing is obviously faster, because I don't know, when you get distracted you're like or like if like there's a really good part on and then you just kind of like, when you're watching like TV or something. So, but obviously we're gonna be watching something. I would suggest, if you want to go faster, obviously watch something where you don't have to pay much attention to, something that's not going to actually distract you, and something that probably you don't have to read subtitles for. I don't take that advice. That's all I watch. But depending on the stitch that I'm doing, I'm not looking at what I'm doing anyway. So anyway, I think that's everything. If you have anything to add, please leave it in the comments below, for me, for others, for all of us, so we can all become master crocheters. Woo! That was stupid. I'm a loser. Oh wait, I not love you. I did not end up using this, and I don't think I'm going to, because I realized, well, I forgot to put it on that night, and then I was too lazy to get up and put it on. And then I realized that I touch my eyes a lot. So that's probably not safe. It's bad enough getting all my skincare in my eyes. I don't think I'm gonna risk it unless my hands really start to bug me.